Are you a new real estate investor and you're still struggling to get your very first deal because you simply don't have the funding or the money to do the deal? Or are you a wholesaler and you've collected and earned some assignment fees on wholesale deals, but there's some deals that you want to stay in, but you can't stay in the deals because you don't have the funding? Or are you a seasoned real estate investor and you've done a ton of deals, but you're sick and tired of paying high interest and you want to be in control of your business and just get a bunch more funding for your deals at super low rates? Well, if you answered yes to any of those three questions, don't go anywhere because I'm getting ready to plug you into the money. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Private Money Academy podcast. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, welcoming you to the show. And here on the Private Money Academy podcast, of course, we always talk about private money and getting funding for your deals. In addition to that, I typically have a special guest, an expert in a particular field in real estate investing. Today is no exception, and I'm going to introduce my guest in just a moment. But before I do, I promised you just a moment ago that I was going to plug you into the funding on your deals. And how in the world am I going to do that? Whether you're brand new, you're a newbie, or you've been wholesaling and you want to stay in some deals, or you're a seasoned real estate investor looking for more funding to do more deals. Well, I just released my brand new book, which is titled Where to Get the Money Now, subtitle, How and Where to Get Money for Your Real Estate Deals Without Relying on Traditional or Hard Money Lenders. In this book, I show you step by step how I went from no funding for my deals all the way over $2 million in funding in less than 90 days, and how you can too. And this strategy of getting funding for your deals has got nothing to do with your experience, your credit score, your income, etc. In fact, in the book, I'm also going to show you how to receive multiple checks on every real estate deal that you do. Well, I'd love to give you the book for free. You can get it on Amazon, but I'll save you $20. Just cover shipping and handling. You can get the book at www.jayconner.com/book. That's right. Right after the show, rush on over to www.jayconner.com/book, BOOK. And I'll sign it for you and we'll rush it right out to you. You're going to love what this book has got to share with you. Now, my special guest today knows how to teach and create success. In addition to that, my guest and friend went from being a full-time high school math teacher to creating in such a short period of time multiple successful real estate and marketing businesses. In fact, in addition to that, he's published multiple books and currently licenses his special proprietary lead generation systems to real estate professionals all over the country. Also, I want you to know that although business is my friend's new full-time obsession, one thing has not changed, and that is his heart of being a teacher. He's got a servant's heart. He's always looking to give value, and he loves teaching. He loves the opportunity to teach, inspire, and share real-world applications that can transform your business. In addition to that, my special guest and friend, he's been investing in real estate. He's got 15 years of experience in real estate, in finance, in teaching, and as a matter of fact, he was named the 2019 Industry Innovator of the Year. Also, he has flipped already over 100 houses. In addition to that, he's created a company called Savior Publishing House as a way to serve his community and to help senior citizens with their real estate challenges. He enjoys spending time with his wife, his children, engaged in family activities, and something very, very important to him is being very involved in his local church, just like me and Carol Joy. With that, welcome to the show, my good friend, Max Keller. Hello, Max.
Right. Hey, good to be here. Let's go.
It is awesome to have you here on, Max. Good to see you again. You and I are in a fellow mastermind. You and I have probably known each other now for about 3 years or so. And I tell you, it's just amazing to watch all the phenomenal successes and the growth of your company that you've got going on. We're going to be talking about private money with you here on the show today. But before we jump in, tell us, Max, how did you get into real estate?
Sort of by accident. So I was teaching math at an inner city school. I was coaching football, basketball, and track, and I didn't want to actually get into real estate full time. I just saw it as a passive income opportunity. My pay was pretty much fixed being a teacher, and so I was like, I got to do something. So my kids were getting older. So what I did was I just wanted to maybe get 1 or 2 rentals a year. I figured if I did that over a period of time, I could, have a pretty good nest egg and then pass it on. What ended up happening in 2015 was I just kind of got sucked into real estate. I mean, it's not just a good way to make money in, over long periods of time, but you can really increase the active income. So I basically just got a local mentor. I worked all day as a teacher, and then at night I would work for him. And within about 3 months, I got a couple houses under contract. Wholesaled one, made about 16 grand, which is like 4 months worth of teacher pay. Then did it again, and then another time, and then I just decided I need to go full time. And so that's what I did. I just went full time. I made the leap. It was a lot easier to source deals back then in 2015, 2016 than it is right now. But there's still ways to do it. You just have to know what you're doing, execute, and level up your marketing. And so that's sort of been the journey that I'm on. I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth, and it's, very competitive, like a lot of markets. And so what happened with me was I just had to figure out a better way to do my marketing, because if you don't have leads in your business, whether they're for private money or for deals, you don't have a business. So that's kind of what happened to me. It's been an amazing journey, and it just keeps evolving every day.
So was your first deal a wholesale deal, a fix and flip? What was it?
So I had pretty good credit because I didn't use it. That's what's kind of funny about credit. It's like if you use it a lot, you don't get very much more and your credit score is low. I had gone through, when I was a teacher, like the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University model. So I had all the debt paid off. I didn't understand how to leverage debt in a good way yet. So I actually took down my first property with a line of credit. I guess kind of really I wholetailed it. I technically took title to it and then just sold it did a closing like 4 weeks later to a cash buyer. But yeah, it was 16 grand. I mean, I didn't squeeze every ounce of juice out of the deal like I could have. But what I did have back then, which was really important, it's not as important now, is having, I just had some really consistent, solid buyers. And that allowed me to create some opportunities for bigger chunks of cash today. And then, allowed me to leverage into long-term assets.
What were some of your early struggles when you were starting out?
I think probably the first one was what to focus on and who to market to. So it's funny, I do a lot of marketing now and I've gotten a lot better at it, pretty good. But at first it was the marketing because there's so many other people sending out the exact same thing to everybody. And so as the competition kept going up in our market, the return on my ad spend kept getting lower and lower. And so I had to figure out, basically what I figured out in my market was the problem that we were having was every other investor and wholesaler they were sending the same messages to the same people. Like if they're on my list, they're probably on other people's lists too. And we had, hedge funds entering our market pretty early on, and they were paying really, really high prices. So I knew that if I was just going to only compete on price and compete against people who have multi-million-dollar marketing budgets, that was going to be a tough order. So the good news is I just thought about what the problem was and said, maybe I don't need to take down every deal in Dallas, Fort Worth. What's the best niche I can focus on? And so what I did, and what I would encourage people to consider, even if they're brand new, is I just kind of outlined what's a perfect deal for me. And for me, a perfect deal is one where I make good profit on the deal, because a larger profit deal and a smaller one, they take about the same amount of time. Number two is I want to work with people that aren't resisting me. Like I would go over to people's houses and they would argue with me when I'd show them the comps, and they hadn't moved in 20 years. They don't have a real estate background. And I was like, this is kind of a joke. And then, so that was number two. I wanted to work with people who were like, you're the expert, help me, And then I wanted to work with people that I just enjoyed working with, that were just nice people that just didn't have a clear path. And so those are the kind of people I wanted to work with. Most of my deals, I made this list when I'd already done about 30 or 40 deals. Most of the deals that I'd already done, didn't meet all of those criteria, but the ones that did, you didn't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what the pattern was, and that they were senior citizens, they were senior homeowners. And so that was sort of my first marketing aha moment, was that there's this really large growing, fastest growing niche in our real estate space that I could target with different messages. Senior homeowners have different needs than millennial homeowners. They just do. They're interested in different stuff. They have different questions. So instead of sending everybody the same, I'll buy your house cash in 7 days, like everybody else is sending, I started sending totally different messages that were very senior centric. And as a benefit, I got a lot more calls. I had a lot more higher response rate. And then kind of the next thing that happened after that real quick was I'm at a senior's house. It was the dad and his adult children are there. So he's probably in his early 80s. And the kids are in their, 50s, early 60s kind of thing. People are upset because it's they're selling the family home. There's a lot of memories. Christmas was right over there, but they had to do it. The dad couldn't stay in the house any longer. And so the adult daughter said, I really appreciate everything that you've done for us. You've helped us out. I found the dad a new place to live, like a senior retirement home. And she said, you'll know a lot about this. Have you ever thought about writing a book about this? And I was like, Ajay, my lambs. I mean, that was the furthest thing from my mind. I was like, no, I'm a math teacher. I'm not a English teacher. But then when I thought about it, I was like, that's actually a pretty good idea, because at the time in the little 3 cities that I focused on in this huge Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, I was getting known as the guy who knew a lot about seniors. But if I wrote a book about seniors and their housing struggles, I could be the guy who wrote the book on it. So that's what I did. I just wrote down, I've got a special gift for your audience at the end. If you're interested in writing your own book, we've created the first of its kind DIY guide. It's basically the framework that we didn't have when we wrote our first book, but we have now for all the books that we write. I didn't realize that a book would be such an incredible magnetic marketing engine for my business. I was selfishly just kind of tired of having the 4-hour Q&As in everybody's living rooms, answering the same questions over and over for 3 years. It was kind of burning me out. So I just wrote the answers to all those questions in the book. I wrote down all the stuff that people should ask. And I just got it printed. It took a couple 100 hours to write my first one. And then I just started giving it to people. And it became my ultimate business card. And it really changed the way that I market for deals, and then eventually private money forever.
So you started focusing, as you just said, on serving and talking with senior citizens that were at the point of where they need to sell their houses. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me. What are your favorite marketing methods for locating the owners of these houses that may be looking to sell?
Yeah, great question. So there's really 2 categories of marketing methods that we use. They're the ones that we used before we had a book. And then there's the ones that are more available to people who are experts, authorities, local celebrities. You obviously, are in that category. And so what we did initially when we got the book was we basically just the same methods that we were using, there's no magic list. 20 years ago, it was the magic list that they only sell to 3 people. There's data is more available now than it's ever been. It's easier than it's ever been to find more ways than there's ever been for people to reach you. What's really missing in marketing is really understanding who you're talking to as a marketer, and then sending messages that are reading their minds. That's the biggest problem. Okay, it's not the list. Everybody has the same list. Everybody knows how to stack a list. You can go on YouTube, figure it out in 5 minutes. The real challenge is, why would they choose you over everybody else? That's the missing piece. And so that's what we did is I'll give you an example, real simple. Okay, we're getting calls from our direct mail, our door-to-door flyers, our normal, calling agents and talking about, if there's pocket listings, our normal stuff. So people are calling our office, right? We had just gotten the book. And sometimes they're calling with a little bit of chip on their shoulder because they know that they're getting all this mail, so they're like, hey, congratulations, you're going to win the house lottery. You have the opportunity to come over to my house and pay me more than you probably should. And so when people call, they're like, we need you to come over right now. And I was afraid that if I didn't go over there real quick, they'd sell it to somebody else. That's what they teach at all the boot camps. And that's probably true if you don't have a book. But if you do, you don't have to do that. Because instead, I would just say, hey, oh, great. Yeah, you want us to come over? Okay, well, yeah, we'll get to that. Hey, real quick, do you have a copy of our latest book? And they're like, your book, like the whole tone changes. I go, yeah. I said, we wrote the book on senior housing. This is it right here. Home to Home, the step-by-step senior housing guide. And I go, in chapter 3 is all the ways to sell your home, pros and cons of each. So let me ask you a question. If I sent you an autographed copy of the book to your house, can you read chapter 3 before I come over? Because if you can, then I'll come over. And if you can't, then I can't come over. See, I'm the boss of my business. I'm the expert. You're calling and talking to the foundational source for the information that you need. So we're going to follow my process. It's not being rude. It's just a statement of fact. And it really increases compliance, which is what you want as a business owner, because you know the formula to help your clients better than they do. Otherwise, they'd be doing it themselves. And so they're like, well, Jay, what do you think people are going to say when you ask them if they're going to read an autographed book? I mean, yeah, what do people say when they get your book autographed? They can't wait. So what happens is I pay a courier about 30 or 40 bucks. I send it over and I go, hey, do you need me to come over right now? Or are you going on foreclosure, or we got like a couple days? And they're like, no, it's okay. A couple days. So now I'm on my schedule, which is what I need to run a predictable business. Okay. I send the book, they read chapter 3, but they read the rest of the chapter. Do you know what I mean? They read the story right here with me and my Momo. Do you think people think that guys who take care of their 90-year-old grandmas are scumbags or loan sharks? Heck no. They're like, man, this is like my new grandson, Max. So when I come over, they've read the whole book. They've already spent 4 or 5 hours with me, and they see me differently because I have a book, So it just sets the tone really good. It puts the odds in my favor. Then when I come over, I bring them the workbook, and they're just like, dang, it's like Christmas around here. And then I go through it with them. So instead of just talking about stuff or asking these lame, hard closing questions that nobody likes, and it makes you look really slimy, we don't have to do any of that stuff. Me and my students just like, so here's a perfect example, Jay. Page 41. I tab this page. I go, now, Mavis, if you're looking at some other investors to buy your house, I totally understand that. I'd probably do the same thing. But make sure that you ask them these questions. These are the questions you're going to want to ask to make sure you don't get roped in with the wrong person. And by the way, you can ask me those questions too. Do you see the credibility? Do you see the openness? It's like lights out. So that's how we buy houses, and it works really good. We attach it to what we're already doing. But then the other stuff is the stuff that we didn't even know about, which is speaking to local businesses. So one time I spoke at the Probate Attorney Association monthly meeting for my county. Jay, do you think that 30 probate attorneys in a room, they're sitting, you're standing, you're the expert, you're delivering. Do you think some of those 30 probate attorneys in the next 2 years are going to know somebody that needs to sell their house?
Well, it's the perfect market that is like the revolving door of prospects for your target market.
Yeah. And so I used to think the only way to market for deals was directly to the homeowner with really standard generic messages that get thrown in the trash. So our messages used to be in the junk mail, but now our books are on the coffee table with all the other autographed books from the local real estate experts, which, it's not a huge stack. So it's about pivoting when you've established yourself as an authority, as an expert, as a local celebrity in your field, whatever it is. It helps make the transition from going from an annoying pest, as Dan Kennedy says, to a welcome guest. We used to be annoying pests. We were the pesky salesperson who was only pitching and not listening. But now we're the educator. We're the non-fiduciary housing advisor. That's just a big paradigm shift. And when you're in front of 30 business owners, there's an incredible amount of leverage because they know 30 prospects. So in 1 hour, you can really speak to 900 people. It's just super powerful. And I haven't found any other method of marketing that can replicate those kind of results.
Well, you can't beat the credibility of having a book. You can't beat the credibility of knowing what you're talking about and being an expert. So, Max, we got a lot of people here listening to the podcast, and I'm sure they're scratching their head going, well, that's a great idea, Max, but how in the world can I get me a book, right?
That's the weirdest.
How can they get a book?
Yeah, well, great question. I would love to come on here and say, Jay, I'm just such a hotshot ninja marketer that I planned all this out. Nothing could be further from the truth. If my market wasn't so competitive, I would have never spent 200 hours writing a book. I would have just kept, scooping up deals like most people were doing in that time in these tertiary, secondary markets. But I didn't have a choice, and it worked out really good. Here's what happened. I'm getting deals with my book. I'm in masterminds. We're in a lot of the same masterminds. So I'm in this mastermind, and my friends in there, investors copy what works. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. And they're like, hey, I kind of like this. I live in Florida. You're not using your book in Florida. Turns out we got seniors there too. You think I could use your book? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. I just didn't understand. And then my friend in Chicago is like, hey, can I use your book? Hey, they got seniors in California too. So what we did was we created a system. I brought in some of the who's who of publishing, and we created a licensing program. Turns out the secret behind this book is that 99% of it is about stuff that our ideal prospect cares about. 1% is about us. Most marketing messages are like the opposite. All they do is talk about themselves and very little about the person. That's why they don't call you. It's like, I'm sending out all this stuff. Why are people not calling me? Because it doesn't look like you even understand what they're going through. So that was sort of the accidental secret sauce from this. So we created a system where we change about 5% of the book, because, the ways to sell a house in North Carolina, pretty similar to Dallas, pretty similar to California. The types of assisted living facilities, all that's about the same. And so now we swap them out on the cover. We give a custom cover, and they just pay us like a one-time licensing fee to set up their book. In less than 30 days, they have a book and a workbook that they can hand out to prospects. And so and they only spend about an hour or two of their time filling out all the information we need to personalize it. We write in, their story. So it just lowers the barriers. It makes it easier. And the folks that are usually a fit for our program are folks that are, they're active real estate investors. They understand the value of a deal. They have some credibility. They just haven't figured out a way to signal it to the people they're trying to reach. The phone isn't ringing like it used to. Those are the people that come to us because they see that us, and we've had about 130 students that license one of our 4 book systems across the nation. They see that this works and they don't want to reinvent the wheel. So yeah, that created a whole nother business that I never expected. That's where I got the award from with Robert K. Jay, a funny story, and I didn't tell everybody this, right? It's kind of embarrassing, but in 2005, I actually tried to get into real estate. I was 25. I just got married. The problem is I wasn't reading, definitely wasn't writing books. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So I researched CRMs all day, which is worthless. And I created an LLC, which is meaningless. And I didn't know anything about marketing or lead gen. I stood in line to get Robert's book for like 2 hours. And then I just ended up not doing anything. That's what happens to a lot of people. I just didn't understand what to do next. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't even know what that was. And then, so it's crazy to think. I never would have imagined a million years. 15 years later, I'm getting this award. We're sharing a stage together and we're exchanging books. I never would have imagined it. It was a really cool deal. So it can happen. Books are super powerful. And we believe that we've made it easier than ever for folks to plug in. And like I said, it's for folks who want to do senior housing. And then what happened is that, well, once you have a deal, what do you need after that? The money. So we created a licensing program. This is one of my students' books, Leonard. I'm real proud of him. He's in Seattle. And because it turns out, guess what? Senior homeowners have questions. And when you give them the book, they look at you really different. It works the same way with private money lenders. Who knew? So this is Leonard's book. And then we just, swap out covers. Here's Tim Davis's. So you see how they're different? The insides are the same. But here's the thing. The person you're giving to doesn't care. They just want to solve their problem. They're just trying to figure out how to not get into a deal with a lousy borrower. They're just trying to figure out if this deal really has a discount or not. They just want to have their questions answered. So instead of going to a blog or getting a bunch of emails, which have a low perceived value, we give them something that has a higher perceived value and a higher level of expected authority and expertise. And we just educate and help people. We tell them this isn't for everybody. Being a private money lender on real estate's not for everybody. This is who it's for. This is who it's not for. This is my book. And if you want to go through it together, I'd love your feedback, stuff like that. So it's been really cool. And he's happy because he didn't have to rewrite this himself. And then what we're good at is helping people apply it to their marketing. Because just getting a box of books where you wrote one chapter with everybody else, dude, nobody cares about when you fell down a well and you overcame your struggles. They just care about themselves. What's in it for me? That's what all the homeowners are thinking. That's what all the private money lenders are thinking. They won't tell you that. That's what they're really thinking. So just give them that. But give it to them in a way that establishes your authority and your credibility, and it's scalable. And that's pretty much what we do. And then we created a book system for Gene Garino. We just did his latest book. His students license it. And then we haven't even announced this publicly, but we just wrote a book for Eddie Speed and Richard Thornton. And so their note students are going to license that out. That's brand new. We haven't even announced it, but I guess we spoiled it a little bit. So it's been really cool to help people because everybody there wants to lead with more value. They want to educate. Well, I mean, who would ever say no to that? So it's been cool.
Yeah, but what you've done there, Max, is you've created a way that no matter what niche that
Right.
someone's in real estate investing, how to raise their credibility and actually convert
Right.
A higher percentage of prospects into actually doing business,
Right.
With those folks. Well, I know we've got people that want to connect with you. So what's the best way for people to connect with you, Max?
Yeah, it's real simple. We made a special link as long as it's up. So don't delay. But we're going to leave it up at least for the first 25 people who download this. So we created a new book. It's called the Real Estate Investors Book Writing Checklist. It's basically all the steps that we go through when we wrote Gene's book and Eddie's book and Richard's book. But we didn't have that when we started, and we haven't seen it in any books. So it's a real simple guide that you can use, whether you're thinking about writing a book or an ebook, or you just want to have social media messages that convert better. It's real simple. Just go to deals with an S, dealschasingU.com/Connor, CONNER. Okay. DealschasingU.com/Connor. You can download a copy of the book while the link is still up. And then you can go on the website and check out some of the training videos that we have. It talks about the different types of book systems and how it would benefit you, because that's what it's all about. It's about getting more deals. It's about getting more dollars. And when those things get dialed in, the marketing becomes a lot easier. And when the marketing becomes a lot easier, life just gets better.
Max, thank you so much for offering that amazing gift to our listeners here. Final comments and advice.
Just lead with value. I look, you can go deep sea fishing, and I know there's some great fishing where you're at. You can go deep sea fishing and spend 4 hours trying to wrestle a big fish on the boat. That works. People do it. Okay. It's just really exhausting. That's what it's like to market in a crowded market, trying to compete against Wall Street with price. That's what it's like trying to market without a book. What we do is totally different. We share what we're doing, and then we attract the people that resonate with our message. And so they're calling and qualifying themselves to work with us. In one of the most competitive markets in the nation, in one of the most competitive times, people are regularly calling us, asking if they qualify to work with us. That's a big difference.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Max. There you have it, folks. Get on over to dealschasing.com/Connor, CONNER, and you can download the checklist. Thank you for joining us, folks. I'm Jay Connor, the Private Money Authority, wishing you all the best. Here's to taking your real estate investing business to the next level, and we'll see you right here on the next Private Money Academy podcast.